The listing didn't exist in any system. No record, no owner, no tax history. But the keys were waiting for me. And when I opened the door, the house already knew my name. I've been a real estate agent for 14 years, and I've seen just about everything. Collapsing roofs, hoarder houses, even a backyard full of snakes once. But nothing prepared me for that Halloween night. It started with an email. October 30th, 11:58 p.m. Private showing scheduled for October 31st, midnight. Property, 1901 Hollow Creek Lane. Client, Mr. A. Graves. Payment upon completion, $25,000. That address didn't exist in any of our records. No parcel ID, no owner name, no map coordinates. It wasn't even on county files. I called the number listed in the email. No ringtone, just a man's voice, already speaking like he'd been waiting for me to call. "We've been trying to sell it for years," he said. "You're the only agent who can reach it." Before I could ask what he meant, the call cut out. I tried Googling 1901 Hollow Creek Lane. Nothing. Not even a mention. By all logic, that house shouldn't exist. And yet, when I checked my desk the next morning, there was a set of old iron keys sitting on my keyboard. Attached was a yellowing note. "Tonight, midnight. Do not enter before 12 a.m." I thought someone in the office was playing a joke. Halloween pranks weren't uncommon. But $25,000 for a private showing? I wasn't about to turn it down. The directions took me past the city limits, down a cracked 2-lane road surrounded by fog and empty farmland. When my GPS hit route ended, the road kept going. One more dirt stretch that wasn't on any map. At exactly 11:59 p.m., I saw headlights through the mist. A Victorian house rising like a mirage from the darkness. Every instinct told me to turn around. But then I looked at the keys in my hand, and the thought of that payment pulled me forward. The house looked almost identical to one I'd seen in a century-old newspaper, clipping about a family that vanished in 1891. But the architecture, it was perfect. The paint wasn't chipped. The lights were on. I parked, straightened my jacket, and walked up the stone path. The front door opened before I touched it. "Mr. Graves?" I called out. No answer. The air inside was stale. Not dusty, just old. Like time itself was thick here. And on the foyer table sat a clipboard with my name on it. And a property description sheet. Single family, 4-bed, 3-bath. Built 1890, status unlisted. Showing scheduled, October 31st only. I walked through the main hall, flashlight in one hand, clipboard in the other. Everything looked staged. Furniture, candles, even fresh flowers. Except the photos on the walls. They were all portraits of real estate agents. Decades of them. Each photo labeled with a name and year. Some black and white, some fading color. All of them smiling, holding the same clipboard I was holding now. At the bottom of the last frame, a brass plaque read, "Current agent, to be determined." I felt something shift behind me. The air grew colder, like a door had opened somewhere deep in the house. I turned. The front door was gone. In its place, just another hallway. I whispered, "This isn't real." A voice replied from upstairs. "Show me the kitchen." It was calm, gentle, almost polite. I froze. "Mr. Graves?" I asked. The voice answered again. "Closer now. You're the only one who can show it. Please." The staircase creaked under invisible footsteps. I forced myself to continue the tour, my voice trembling. This is the main living room, I said, pretending to do my job. The candlelight flickered. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding with each word. When I mentioned the kitchen, every door in the hallway swung open at once. Inside each, darkness. Endless swallowing darkness. The whisper came again. Closer. I stepped into what looked like a kitchen. The appliances were old, early 1900s maybe, but spotless, like someone still used them. Then I noticed something moving inside the oven window. Not a reflection, a hand. It pressed against the glass from inside. I stumbled back, hit the counter, and dropped my flashlight. When it rolled, the beam hit the far wall, and I saw dozens of handprints smeared in ash. Each one next to a name, every name, was one of the agents from the photos. At the very bottom, space for one more. I ran. Or tried to. Every corridor led me in circles, hallways rearranging themselves like a maze. Then I saw it. At the end of the hall, an open doorway, glowing faintly. A way out. I sprinted, but when I crossed the threshold, I wasn't outside. I was back in the foyer again. Only this time, something was standing there. A tall man in an old black suit, face pale as chalk, eyes dark as coal. "Thank you for showing the house," he said softly. "It remembers you now." He handed me the clipboard. My name was already engraved on the plaque. I woke up in my car at sunrise. The field was empty. No house. No fog. The keys were gone. So was the clipboard. I drove straight home, called my boss, and quit that day. But every year since then, on Halloween night, I get the same email at 11:58 p.m. Same subject line. Same wording. Private showing scheduled. 1901 Hollow Creek Lane. And when I delete it, another one appears seconds later. You've already been chosen. Story 2, the live stream. There were 40,000 people watching my live stream that night. They all saw the house appear behind me, and they all swear they saw something standing over my shoulder, even though I was streaming alone. I run a YouTube channel called Urban Grave, Urban Exploration. Creepy places, paranormal challenges, that kind of stuff. Mostly it's just clickbait and shaky night vision footage. But every Halloween, I try to do something special. Something that feels real. Last year, I decided to finally chase down the legend of the house that only appears on Halloween night. The myth had been trending on Reddit again. Stories of people who claimed to see a mansion appear in an empty field. Always at midnight, always gone by dawn. Most people laughed it off. But viral potential? That was real, so I planned a full live stream. Midnight challenge. Title: I found the Halloween house. Gone wrong. It wasn't supposed to go wrong. I went live at 11:30 p.m. Thousands of viewers joined in seconds. The usual chaos in chat. Fake. He's doing another forest bit, LOL. Wait, what's behind him? The field behind me was just fog and darkness. But then, my drone camera caught something faint, a shape in the mist. At first, I thought it was just glare from the drone's infrared, but it started taking form. A roof line, then windows, then a door. By 11:59, the house was fully there. Everyone in chat saw it appear at once. Holy shit, did that just materialize? It's real, bro, it's real. Go inside, do it. And yeah, I did. The house looked wrong through the lens, like the frame rate dropped, or reality lagged for half a second. Every movement echoed twice, once in real sound and once in digital distortion. When I stepped through the gate, My stream audio glitched. One sharp pop, then silence. I could still see the chat moving on screen. "We can't hear you." "Mike's dead." "Dude, someone's in the window. Look!" I turned around. Nothing. The house just waited. Perfectly still. Every window dark except for one. The attic. The curtains shifted slightly. I reached the door. It was unlocked, swinging gently, like it had been waiting. The moment I crossed the threshold, my connection dropped to 144p and flickered to grayscale. But chat kept pouring in. "This is insane, OMG. I saw a shadow move behind you. Why is there a face on the wall?" I thought they were trolling. Then I looked at the wall. There was a face, carved into the plaster, eyes open, mouth stretched wide. And the longer I looked, the more faces I saw. Dozens, hundreds, all frozen mid-scream. Each one looked like it had been pushed out from inside the wall. I tried to lighten the mood for stream. "Okay guys, this is getting weird," I laughed nervously. "I think I just found my next thumbnail." Someone donated $200 with a message that popped up on screen. "Behind you." I turned slowly. The doorway was now pitch black. No light, no sound, nothing. I aimed my flashlight and saw myself, another me, standing in the hall holding a camera. Same clothes, same expression, only it wasn't following my movements. It smiled when I didn't. Then the stream cut to black for 2 full minutes. When it came back on, I was still walking, talking like nothing happened. Only my voice was wrong, flat, hollow, like something was speaking through me. Chat went insane. "He's possessed. This isn't live anymore? He's repeating, look!" I was looping the same phrase. "Welcome to the house. Welcome to the house. Welcome to the house." Over and over. At 3 a.m., the feed ended abruptly with one final frame, the attic window. A figure standing there, staring straight into the drone camera, and the faint outline of a noose swinging behind it. The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages. Subscribers thought it was the best horror stream ever. Only problem? When I checked my gear, there were no files. The entire stream didn't exist on my SD cards or YouTube backend. But when I looked at the analytics, it showed a total watch time of 6 hours. I'd been live long after I thought it ended. And the top comment under the archived VOD just said, "He's still streaming." The timestamp? Updated in real time. Every Halloween story. The caretaker's contract. They told me I was being paid to guard an empty field. But when midnight came, the house appeared. And someone was already inside, waiting for me. I had been out of steady work for almost a year when the listing showed up on a local job board. Seasonal night security, 1 night only, $2,000 cash. No company name, no details. Just a phone number and an address. The location was familiar, though. It was that patch of land people around town always whispered about. Every Halloween, someone swore they saw a house there. A mansion that appeared out of nowhere and vanished before dawn. Most people called it the Devil's Acre. But I didn't believe in legends. I believed in paychecks. When I called the number, a man answered in a voice so calm it was unsettling. He said his name was Mr. Albright, and that the job was simple. I was to stay on site from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., patrol the property once every hour, and not leave the grounds for any reason until sunrise. If I completed the shift, payment would be wired immediately. He also said one last thing. Don't speak to anyone you meet on the property. No matter what they say, I laughed it off as a weird scare tactic. But when I arrived that night, the strangeness began immediately. There was no house, just fog and a stretch of wild grass bordered by rotting fence posts. No lights, no driveway, nothing. A single folding chair sat at the edge of the property with a thermos and flashlight resting on it. The thermos was filled with coffee, still hot. There was a note under it that said, "Thank you for returning." Midnight approaches. Returning? I had never been there before. I radioed in, but my phone had zero signal. No data, no service. Still, the coffee's warmth calmed me until I heard footsteps. They were faint, distant, the rhythmic crunch of someone walking through wet grass. I stood up, sweeping my flashlight in every direction, but there was only mist. Then, at exactly 12 a.m., my radio emitted a high-pitched crackle. And the air changed. The ground beneath me trembled ever so slightly, and before my eyes, the field began to twist. It was like reality itself folded in on that space. The mist condensed into walls, the air thickened into shape, and suddenly, there it was. The house, dark, towering. Windows like empty eyes staring straight into me, and every single light flickered on at once. The door opened on its own. I should have left right then. But something compelled me forward. I wasn't scared exactly, more like expected. The interior looked untouched, as if someone had just left minutes ago. A faint smell of wood polish and candle wax filled the air. Portraits hung along the walls, faces so detailed they almost looked alive. And then I realized they were. Each portrait's eyes followed me, the pupils shifting slightly as I passed. The further in I went, the more I felt like I was walking into a memory that didn't belong to me. At 1 a.m., I started my first patrol. Every clock in the house was ticking, but all of them showed different times. Every door I closed would creak open again if I looked away long enough. When I entered what looked like a study, I saw something new. A logbook resting on a desk. The cover read, "Caretaker's Contract, 1921. Inside were hundreds of entries, all signed by different names. Each one dated October 31st, each one describing the same night I was living through. The last entry stopped me cold. It was dated exactly 1 year ago, and it was signed by me. I dropped the book. No memory of that night. No explanation. I bolted for the front door, but the hallway had changed. It stretched endlessly now, like the house was breathing, expanding with each step. And at the end of that hallway stood a figure, dressed in a black suit. Still as stone, head tilted slightly, like he'd been waiting for me to notice. It was Mr. Albright. He smiled faintly. "Back again, are we? You do good work." "It's almost dawn." My voice trembled. "What is this place?" He stepped closer, eyes glinting like wet glass. "This house doesn't need guards," he said softly. "It needs witnesses." I stumbled backward, flashlight flickering. The portraits along the walls began to change, their faces twisting into mine. Hundreds of me, each one aging, screaming, melting back into paint. The air pulsed like a heartbeat. I turned for the exit and saw sunlight breaking through the windows. Finally dawn. I threw open the door and ran into the field. Cold air hit my face. The house behind me began dissolving into mist, walls fading, roof collapsing into air. And just before it vanished completely, I saw Mr. Albright standing in the doorway. He raised his hand in a polite wave. "Until next year." When I reached my car, my phone buzzed. One new message, payment received, $2,000 from A. Albright Holdings. And attached was a photo. It showed me, sitting in that same chair at the edge of the field, only older. And behind me, in the fog, the faint outline of the house returning again.